of the DC crossover. I am Ben Simpson. That is Mike Cerrone. Happy New Year. God, we're in 2024 now.
Happy New Year.
This show, in this current version of the show, I'm curious when the first episodes of this show went on the air, because I feel like, let's see, I'm scrolling back right now, so I see 2022.
Oh, let me guess.
Yeah. You can throw.
Now,
a
when
guess
you're
out
saying
there.
on the air, you're talking about like when we
No.
streamed
Just
that?
this podcast specifically.
This iteration.
Yeah, this iteration of it. When the
me
first
guess.
episodes are. Okay, I've got it pulled up, so I'm interested.
Oh, the very first
DC
episode,
crossover
you're saying.
podcast episode 1.
Okay, episode 1.
Yeah.
I would say it was 2019.
I need a full guess, and then I'll tell you how close you are.
Okay, 2019, and I'll say in March.
So you're off by 7 months.
It's a lot. Is it before that?
August 26th, 2018
Oh, wow.
is
that was
DC
even-
crossover podcast episode
Wow.
1.
That's
Isn't that
farther than I
crazy?
thought. Damn.
Jesus. So that's like freaking 6 years almost. And that's just this version of the show. And we've done many different versions. So we enter another year with this show. We ended last year on a very strange note. If you didn't get a chance to watch or listen to the episode, go back and get to like close to the end where we had this random like bot enter our chat. And I don't even know if it was a bot, to be honest. And it was one of the weirdest moments we've ever had on this show. There's some bot like telling us like our lives are going to end or something. It was very weird. But
They're going to take our soul.
yeah, take our soul. It was a very appropriate way to end 2023 for this show. But we are back, new year. We teased this a little bit last episode as well. We have some big things coming for the show. Expect that right around the time Super Bowl time. We'll be teasing out some things coming up. A lot to get to tonight on the program. Follow the show on social media at the DC Crossover and at Cerrone16 and on TikTok. We got to get the followers up on TikTok because we're trying to do some live streams on TikTok as well. And TikTok has these BS rules about how many followers you need to have in order to stream live, which I think is insane because like I scroll through TikTok all the time and some of the lives I come across, it's like a guy like in the gutter, you know, like live streaming and he's speaking a different language and you're just like, how did this guy get enough followers to go live?
70 like viewers or something like that. You're just like, all right, if you have 70 viewers and you have to have 1,000 followers, it's like it's kind of off. The numbers are off there.
There's some weirdos on TikTok. I mean, like,
Oh, yeah.
there's weirdos on all social media
Weirdos.
platforms, but if you go to like the live tab on TikTok and scroll through, you're getting some weird stuff. Like there's the girls that are doing things that are a little weird. Like there'll be a girl like just like sitting, and I say girl, I mean woman. There'll be like a woman like reading a book, but she happens to have like her shirt open or something, and it's like then like that's it. That's all.
Yeah.
That's like streaming live. And meanwhile there'll be like 5,000 people watching it.
Yeah, and there's people they'll be sitting there like working on the computer, and then all of a sudden, it's the same
Yeah.
people, you know,
Yeah.
and then like they have like there's like no bra on or something like that, and then all of a sudden you're just like these people like get these privileges to have these lives and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and it's turning into OnlyFans or something. Like
I know. I guess you and I need to be doing this podcast. You know,
Naked.
yeah, braless. I guess. I guess we got to figure it out. But yes, so we are glad to be back in the new year. Follow the show, all that good stuff. I'll probably be coughing on this episode like I've been for the last month. A lot to get to before I get into the Commander stuff. And I've got a very fun list that I'm very excited to go over with you. The other things that happened across the weekend, of course, you had really 3 huge games over the span of the weekend with the 2 college football games last night. Both pretty incredible endings. Obviously, the Michigan-Bama game was, more interesting, but I think still, Texas made it a game for a bit there, but Washington. So you got UW and Michigan going to the College football final. Any early reads on it? I think Michigan is right now like a 3.5-point favorite just right off the bat, just today. I mean, obviously we're still, the game's Monday next week. But, I mean, to me, this seems like it's Michigan's game to lose at this point. I mean, they're kind of the team of destiny, if you will. But because look how bad they played in that Bama game and they still won. I mean, and that's a little scary if you're Washington and watching the film.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I watched, I don't know, probably half of the Bama game or whatever. I was doing some other stuff. But when it comes down to college football, obviously, my betting for college football sucked this year. So I didn't watch a lot because I was like, I don't have a lot invested in it. And Tech is still rebuilding and all that kind of stuff. So basically, when you look at these two teams, you get a high-flying offense when it comes to Washington. And then Michigan is more, tough nose in the trenches type stuff like that.
They're a run
Blake
game.
Corum and
Sick.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too is it'll be fun to watch because when's the last time Washington was relevant? I mean, was Jake Browning the quarterback at that time, or Jake Locker or somebody like that? One of the Jakes. But that's the thing is I think that when Washington got Penix, that was a huge deal because Penix was huge for Indiana. Now, Indiana has never been that great at football, if I recall. But at the same time, when Penix was there, they had some hype. They actually had some type of, buzz around. What is it? What's Indiana's? Not the Hoosier State, obviously. What's their location in Indiana? Start with a B.
Oh, God!
I should know this.
What, Bloomfield? Is it Bloomfield, Illinois? Wait, no. What am I talking about? You're talking about where we sound like morons. We're talking about where Indiana University is. Bloomington. I knew it was a Bloom.
Bloomington.
Yeah, Bloomington.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew it started with a B or something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it's like, and of course I get off track because I'm like OCD when it comes to that kind of stuff. I don't know why. But literally, when he was at Indiana, they had some buzz. But now that, he's over at Washington, a little bit more weapons, a little bit better of a football school. And now all of a sudden you win the Pac-12 or Pac-2 or whatever it is now, and now you go out there and you shock Texas. Everyone was saying Texas is going to win this game.
Yeah, I liked Texas for the game. I think I bet my parlay was Bama and Texas.
Yep,
that
same.
didn't work.
And and that's just the thing. It's going to be fun, but as of right now, I would probably bet on Washington just to do it. And
yeah, I think so too.
I think the fun thing would be is if you're going to bet on Washington, don't just do the money line. Put them as like a 2.5 favorite or something like that. Swing it like 5 or 6 points. Get yourself a decent odd, and then all of a sudden you can say an over or whatever you're going to do. But that would just make it more interesting for me. But I don't know. I think right now just to make it fun, because like last year with TCU, it wasn't really fun, I would say, because everyone was like, all right, TCU upset. Well, I think they upset Michigan.
Yeah, it was, yep.
And all of a sudden, everyone's like, all right, here we go. TCU. We'll see how they do. And then all of a sudden, they just got boat raced.
Yeah.
So you're just like, all right,
that's the worry.
What are we watching here?
That's the worry. Is both the semifinal games were great. The worry is, are we going to get a dud in the championship? I don't know if we will. I think if Washington can sling the rock around a little bit, Michigan will establish their run game. We could get a good game. I mean, that's what I'm hopeful for. And then, of course, Saturday night, I was up late because I could not go to sleep. I was so disgusted by the Lions' loss there in Dallas. Another screw job by the NFL. And, of course, now you see today that same crew is getting in the national TV game, Ravens Steelers on Saturday, or maybe Saturday, like they deserve it. Again, there's no punishment, there's no repercussions for the just doing a terrible job, and it is what it is. This is what happens. These officials they don't have to talk to the media. You get one pool reporter talks to the refs after the game and asks them softball questions, and that's pretty much it. When in reality, those officials should have to stand up just like Dan Campbell did, and just like any of these guys have to do after a tough game. They should have to stand on the media podium and answer questions.
Right.
Like, why'd you make that call? Why'd you screw up? Why'd you do, like, can you walk us through this? Walk us through that? Like, you should have to answer for your mess ups, but they never do. This is just what happens. So I'm over it. I'm over it, somewhat. It's just another in a long line of Detroit Lions getting just effed left and right. But,
Well,
it was just
honestly,
embarrassing.
Going through that whole entire debacle, I think it makes the Lions look more formidable because they had
Sure.
to have a situation where they're in Dallas, where Dallas has been dominant for the most of the year, obviously, and they've been scoring out the wazoo for everything. And then they held Dallas to basically 20 points.
Yeah.
And I don't know, was it less than that with a defensive thing or something like that?
I can't remember. But yes, it was. I mean, Dallas was averaging like 35, 40 points at home, and the Lions held them to around 20. Yeah.
And that's the thing is if they hold them around 20,
Yeah.
then all of a sudden they go out there and they're behind.
It was
the
20, 20 to 19.
Yeah, they're behind the sticks. So for some reason I thought there was a
Yeah.
defensive touchdown or something like that. I'm going mind blank for what happened. Anyways, there is a good positive, you could say, I should say, that comes out of this game because again, the Lions were underdogs. The Lions were, I think they were 4-point underdogs, something like that at some point.
Yeah, I think the line before the game was 4.5. Yeah.
Yeah. So, a 4-point underdog, 4.5, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And they go into Dallas, hold them to under their home average in points per game. They come out and they have the balls to go for a 4th down with a fake punt, like in their own 30-yard line or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, they don't care. And that's the mentality you have to have when you're going into the playoffs. I don't care. We're going to go for it no matter what. You
Right.
know, but if a situation happens, maybe we'll fake them that we're not going to go for it, whatever it may be. Dan Campbell went out there and was like, we're going to try. And that's the thing is we're going to go for it. The thing about it is there's too many teams out there, hence Washington, for instance, with Riverboat Ron, if you want to call him that still. That's pretty much on the plank, walking off the ship here.
Oh, yeah. We're going to be getting into that next.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
The thing about it is you got to look at it this way, that teams that are scared and that just say, we're going to kick the field goal or we're going to do this or we're going to do that and just kind of play it safe are not the ones that are going out there and winning all the time. Sure, some of these teams have great defenses or whatever it may be. Like the Rams when they won the Super Bowl. Sure, you want to not go for this or you not want to, make it too scary for you. Yeah, because you got Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, you got all those guys, okay? But when it comes down to this team, your defense, the Lions defense isn't cream of the crop. They got some holes in it, but at the same time, you got the chance to win. You go out there and you try to go for it. The refs do a little screw job for you, and then all of a sudden you get boned. But the problem is that now for Dallas, everyone's like, well, if Detroit can go out there as a 4.5-point underdog at home or in Dallas, I should say, and basically win the game but get screwed in the end. That's a good thing for Detroit because now they go into a hostile environment, especially if they have to go into a hostile environment when it comes down to the playoffs. Then everyone knows they can go out there and do the deed.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, they need to go out there and actually get it done in the playoffs and continue this mentality and not be scared when it comes down to these crucial situations with fake punts, with this. I mean, if I recall correctly, in the Super Bowl, I believe the Saints ran a fake punt against Peyton Manning. So, if I recall correctly, that's or if it was it was the
onside kick.
Yeah.
To start the second half, I think.
Yeah. So you see those situations and say you got to have those in the playoffs because too many teams get too scared because they're like, man, it's one and done. But all of a sudden, they have to think of the other side of the pillow here. If it's one and done, leave everything out on the table. Don't hold anything back.
You got to play with house money, which is what the Lions were able to do in that game, and hopefully, we'll see. We'll see. Again, they're in the playoffs, so I'm happy about that. But we don't need to talk about the Detroit Lions. Instead, let's talk about the Commanders, as I introduce to you the list of the top 10 worst decisions made by Ron Rivera in his tenure here in Washington. And so I'm excited to go over this with you. So I'm excited because you have not seen this list, correct?
So what is it again?
This is the top 10. This is just this came out to yesterday on Hogs Haven.
Of course,
it's Ron
that'd be
Rivera's
the
top
thing,
10
yeah.
worst decisions in DC. So I'm excited to.
I haven't seen the list. I have not.
Okay, so I'm excited to see how these hit you. So number 10.
You know what you should have done? You should have wrote all these down and then let me rank them and compare.
Oh yeah,
them
that's true.
that would have been good.
Yeah.
That would have been good.
Too late.
Either way.
Number 10, failing to invest adequately in the offensive line. And so this is something we've talked about at length on this show. There it seems like through Rivera's tenure, there was highly an emphasis on the defensive line, and at one point, this defensive line was one of the best in the NFL. But meanwhile, the offensive line, you had Trent Williams, and then you sent him away, and got barely anything back. You had Morgan Moses, who was a decent guy on the line as well. You sent him away, didn't really get anything. And then now, you've got absolute clowns on the offensive line at this point. You also had one of the best centers in the league for a long time, I feel like, and he's gone. So the lack of offensive line draft picks or getting guys in free agency, the good quality guys in free agency, etc. This is on the list at number 10, failing to invest adequately in the offensive line.
I'm sorry. This mic just irritates me. All right, so I just don't get it. Anyways, I gotta get away from this.
It's okay.
So going along with this whole entire investing in the line, everyone said the defensive line, and all. The difference is here is that yes, the entire organization invested in the defensive line like crazy, but when it comes down to the offensive line, they didn't. And I've been a proponent of this the last couple of years. When you talk about investing, they didn't invest smartly, I guess you could say. They invested, but they didn't invest in premier talent. They went and they got Nick Gates. They got Andrew Wiley. It's like they got some, Sadiq Charles and stuff like that in the draft. But they got these guys in bad spots. Andrew Wiley wasn't a top 3 or 4 tackle in the free agency. I mean, I don't think he was even the top free agent from Kansas City's line. I mean, that's the thing is you have to look at it this way. This is a team that hasn't gone out and spent money wisely on important positions, and nor have they spent draft picks in the right spots. Yes, is corner a need? Yes, it is. But it's a need for everybody, pretty much in the entire league. So you can't sit there and say, oh, we're going to go with Manny Forbes, because he's good. Okay, sure, he might have upside here and there or whatever, but why didn't you go after, and again, I said this like 3 episodes ago, why didn't you go after one of the top tackles for that 13th spot or whatever it was? Why didn't you go after Lindenbaum from the Baltimore Ravens when he got drafted? Like, the thing about it is the Ravens recycle. They keep going through, and this is the difference between a good organization, a good organization and an organization that's inadequate, and that's because this organization just goes after people. And I said this 2 weeks ago, and again, this is one of the things that I posted on TikTok that somebody commented about it and kind of irritated me. That when you go on draft night, I hate when people say, "Oh, we're just gonna get the best available." Why are you gonna get the best available?
Yeah, it's stupid. It's a stupid strategy.
There's teams out there that would love to move up, and do you need to get a ton back? No, you don't need to get a ton back, but I mean, obviously, you need to get what it's worth back. Like if you're trading from 10 to 26, that's a little different.
You do the best available bit when you're like in the late rounds and you're like, all right, I have no idea who the F to take here. So that's when you get the best available. You don't go best available in the 3rd round, you know, like that's stupid.
And that's the problem is that they could have easily, the Ravens wheel and deal at the end of drafts. And that's one of the reasons why they got Lamar Jackson. That's one of the reasons why they got Tyler. Like you got 2 core pieces right there, the center and the starting quarterback, and you got them in the late 1st round. it's like when you sit there and say, "Oh man, well, we really need." The problem is some of these drafts. It looks like they look at like some of the prospects on the computer or something like that, and just watch what Mel Kiper says or something like that. Like,
Right.
I don't understand why can't you say, well, our offensive line has been awful the last 3 years, and we're bleeding by the second. Why don't we go get the best guard, or
You
something
would
like
think
that?
it says here, in all 4 of his drafts, he selected only 5 offensive linemen, with the highest being Sam Cosmi, and then the ones that were
And
drafted.
Sam Cosmi's not that great either.
No, and he's not. And you look across the league at the better teams in the league. I mean, again, we just talked about the Lions. The Lions have one of the best offensive lines in the league. You look at, the Chiefs and on their runs, they've had great O-line. Philly, obviously not as great of a team this year, but in general tends to have a good offensive line. The Ravens, like you just mentioned, I mean, a good O-line. So it's like, and this is a nice point that they make here in that, the reality is the modern NFL is built on offensive dominance, and a lot of that comes from the O-line. So we got to run through these, but definitely a fair point here because again, this has been an issue for the team. Number 9 here, we don't have to spend too much time on this one. Cutting Dustin Hopkins for Chris Blewett. Basically their overall point is like that was like an overreaction.
No one
Cutting
really
Hopkins.
cares.
Yeah, we can skip that one.
We don't all have Justin Tuckers.
This one I'm very excited to talk about. Number 8, using players in the wrong position or in the wrong scheme. Yeah. Number 1 on this is the guy who you and I on this very show, we bitched about this constantly. Landon Collins played at safety when he should have been moved to linebacker. You got the other ones on the list here. William Jackson III, he was brought over as a free agent specializing in man coverage, and then he was now having to play zone. Emmanuel Forbes, kind of the opposite. He was a cornerback specializing in zone, and he was being forced to play man. You got Cosmi, who played at right tackle, and then was moved to guard. They have Antonio Gibson on this list. I don't really know if you can make that argument. Jamin Davis, drafted as a middle linebacker, but not didn't have the speed for this position. Hudson kept out of the lineup. These are. I mean, the Landon Collins one is one that you and I we talked about on this show for months. On what the hell they were thinking with Landon Collins playing safety. But some of these other ones, you're drafting guys that are specializing in a certain type of defense, certain type of area, and while obviously being a modern athlete, you have to expect to be able to adapt. At the same time, there is an argument to be made that why are you drafting a guy who specializes in something other than what you tend to run? Like it just doesn't. It just seems like you're just already putting the guy at a disadvantage right off the bat.
Right, and that's the biggest thing is what you're talking about here is the top 4, I believe, are the most important because, again, the Sam Cosmi draft, I believed that they should have drafted a tackle in the first round.
Yeah.
But they ended up waiting until the second and third round, whichever one he got drafted in. I believe it was the second round. And now he's moving to guard, and I hate when people do that. If you're going to draft a tackle, he better be a tackle that actually can play tackle. That's what you're drafting him for.
Yeah.
You're not drafting a guard. If you're going to draft a guard, draft Quentin Nelson or draft somebody that actually plays guard. Because when they are specializing in a specific position, because that's what they play in college or whatever it may be, then you have to understand that that's what they're used to. You can't say, oh, well, hopefully he can play right guard. Like, hopefully they slide him in, he can do that. Because I even heard it on the radio the other day. They're like, well, if this guy's not good enough, maybe they can slide him into the guard. Like, are they saying guard sucks or something like that?
Right.
Because honestly, when you think about the guard position, I mean, you got defensive tackles that are bigger than most defensive ends, obviously, that are pushing you around. You can't just say, oh, I'll just slide on in here. Like, no, because then you got pulling guards and you have, the A and B gap you got to worry about. Tackles are just pretty much facing off against one defensive end pretty much for the most part, and that's what they're doing. And I hate to say it, but that's just what they're doing. But then you look at Landon Collins, like we were talking about. He was a safety for the Giants. Giants, totally different team than us. But when you look at it, like we talked about for many, many episodes, he was so good inside the box, and we brought him in to be a tackler. I mean, the guy can get 1 million tackles, but he's not a cover safety. And that's the same thing. We talked about for years about DJ Swearinger. Maybe not years, but
Right.
DJ Swearinger was the same thing, hard hitter and stuff like that. But they'd have him like sitting there trying to cover a tight end for short. It's like, what are we doing here? It makes no sense. And then you're looking at Jackson and Forbes, same thing. They're basically the opposite. Okay, Jackson specializes in man coverage, is now playing zone, and then Forbes is specializing in zone. Now he's playing man. It's like
Just a mess.
it makes no sense, and that's the problem. Is that you look at these guys and you're saying, what are we doing here? Everyone was like, oh, Jamin Davis, he has a lot of upside. Okay, the guy can have a lot of upside, but if you're drafting him like 15th overall, 11th overall, whatever, he better be an automatic starter. And if you're going to get a middle linebacker, you better get a guy that has, started experience that's not from a school that's a basketball school. Okay, and that's the one thing that everyone hates is talking about. Oh, this is a basketball school or this is a football school. Like we're both. We're actually both. Kentucky is not a football school. I don't care. I don't give a crap what anyone says. Kentucky is a basketball school. Once you start winning national championships and can actually compete in the SEC, then let me know. Will Levis was your best player, and Will Levis sucks. Okay, I'm sorry. That's just how it is. But you're looking at it and saying this is hilarious because this is one of the biggest things that everyone talks about, and he just keeps doing it.
He loves it. He loves it.
Loves it.
Number 7, allowing Kevin O'Connell to get away. And they, this was just another one where, I mean, we've heard the stories for forever about, obviously like, Commanders, coaching staff, having so much talent in-house that you let walk. Obviously, people love to point to McVay and all these other guys. O'Connell's kind of an under-the-radar one where, you had O'Connell being replaced by Scott Turner, and now obviously O'Connell, head coach of the Vikings, and having some good success there. He's obviously reunited with Kirk Cousins, and so this is another one where it's like, is this a major thing on the list? No, but it does speak to Rivera wanting to do things obviously completely his way, bringing his guys, and just not being a great talent evaluator, not only on the player side but on the staff side. To me,
well, that's also. I'm not going to blame him fully for this because if you think about it, there are 4 NFL head coaches out there, at least 4 of them right now, that were on Washington's staff in the last 10 years. Okay, or I should say 12 years or so. You had Kyle Shanahan, obviously, is one of them. Sean McVay is another one. Kevin O'Connell and Matt LaFleur. So you have 4 right there. There might be one more that I'm missing, but you're looking at it and saying, we had all those guys. I'm not going to sit here and just blame Rivera for that, even though he did have a screw up with this whole entire thing. But I don't know. I just think that with the owner and all that situation at the time, nothing was ever going to change.
Number 6, drafting reach first and second round projects and trading up for a long snapper. So the guys that they're pointing to here, guys like we talked about, Jamin Davis, Sam Cosmi, Dotson, Emmanuel Forbes, Quan Martin. Basically, again, kind of criticizing kind of the where guys being taken higher than they really should have. Cosmi, of course, Mathis, things like that, where it's just like, again, the draft has been kind of an issue here. And then the long snapper, of course, your favorite long snapper in the league, finally cut as well. So yeah.
Was he cut?
Yeah. Remember, they cut him, week 15. Yeah.
Oh, my God. I didn't even know they cut him.
Yeah.
It was so insignificant.
yeah. I mean, you're right. But the overall point here is that, like, you've got guys who, this is a funny one with Mathis where, his agent had told him to be expected to be drafted in the 3rd or 4th round. He was drafted in the first couple rounds. So, yeah, that's kind of an issue. That's an issue. You're taking guys early in the draft. Now, look, like, you could look at any GM's draft history and find misses, obviously, or overreaches. Like, that's a part of it. But with Rivera, there just tends to be a little bit more of a pattern. It just tends to be there. Where you can really kind of see mistake after mistake after mistake, which just makes you question, like, man, who? Like you said earlier, like, what are you watching? Like, what are you? What does your draft board look like? Like how do you get to this point?
Look at those draft picks though, right there on the Jamin Davis. Okay, everyone's like, oh, it's a little bit of a reach for this guy, but maybe he can develop into something. And then all of a sudden, Sam Cosmi, they draft him in the 2nd round, which everyone was like, He's probably the 7th best tackle in this draft. And then Jahan Dotson, everyone thought that was a reach. And then he started showing flashes and catching touchdowns. And then he hasn't done anything this year for the most part. Like you said, the whole entire Mathis thing. I remember when they picked Mathis, everyone on the panel was like, who is this guy?
Yeah, right. Phil Mathis sounds like my accountant.
And then Manny Forbes is over here, and everyone, they brought him up on the screen. And everyone's like, this guy's like like the what do they call it, the worm or whatever the heck they got, not the worm, but the stick bug from A Bug's Life.
Oh yeah,
It's like that guy. They're like, oh yeah, he only weighs 160 pounds. I was like, I weighed 160 pounds in 8th grade. Yeah, And then the Quan Martin thing, they were like, what are they doing? Like they're like wondering all these reaches, and it's like. It doesn't make any sense because they go out there and they get like again the Fedarian Mathis thing. Our defensive line was already we're getting depth. Okay, we can get depth all you want, but we have a lot of other things we need rather than just depth on the defensive line.
I like the Cheeseman as well. You're trading up, get a long snapper. You could get a long snapper in line at Giant grocery store. Like you can find. You don't need to be trading up for a long snapper. Number 5, letting his chief talent evaluator get away. This is another one that talking about Kyle Smith, who had some solid solid drafts. I mean, you're talking about looking at some of these guys like Cam Curl, Sadiq Charles, Antonio Gibson. I mean, Smith was a guy who was well respected, etc. And Rivera restructured the front office and took him away, and now he's over in Atlanta putting together some decent teams there. And so and the drafting has been awful since he left. So another example of internal talent you let him walk away and not really keeping, because you should be striving to, like when new regimes come in, obviously there tends to be turnover, right? Like there's going to be like, I want to bring in some of my guys, or like I don't know these guys, so like I want to bring in guys I can trust. And I get that for sure. That happens with any organization. But you have to know when you're coming into the program, you got to by talking to other guys in the league, or talking to the other staff or things like that. You got to know which guys are like, yeah, let's keep this guy here because he knows what he's doing. He's got a good track record. He can help me. He can help us out. And to me, always the ego on Ron Rivera to me has always been an issue. He is a guy who thinks like he should be respected as one of the best coaches in the NFL. He thinks like he's got this amazing track record. We've gone over his career record
great
here
experience.
On this show. Yeah, and it's like bro, like even. Unless your name is Bill Belichick or Andy Reid, I mean, any other coach in this league, you could always do better. Like, you could always get some more help. And I think that's what some of the best coaches do. And, I mean, Rivera just letting a good talent evaluator leave, and then you look at how he evaluates talent, which is he does a terrible job,
Right.
Just awful. Here, you love this one. Pursuing a massive trade for Russell Wilson. This was the initial. Washington and Rivera offered their first-round picks for the next 3 years and possibly a later-round pick with Seattle, and Wilson blocked that deal. Just imagine if that had gone through. Just imagine. You would have lost the 2022, 2023, and 2024 first-round picks and about $85 million in future dead cap. And then they make the point here, imagine trying to recruit a new management group and head coach with that around the neck of the organization. Now, obviously, it didn't happen, but it would have if Rivera had his way. It would have happened, but Wilson blocked it. That is a big yikes.
Well, plus the whole entire thing that comes into mind now is how, as you said it right down there with Diana Rossini's tweet, that you think about it and say, the Denver Broncos are now cutting Russell Wilson, and they're cutting ties and saying, all right, we got to start over.
Yeah.
Because him and Sean Payton are at odds. He was also rumored to be this kind of weird guy, all that kind of stuff. Because once, he got signed by Denver, everyone's like, this guy's kind of off. This guy's kind of weird, because he got drafted by Seattle. They were so good because of Legion of Boom and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And everyone thought that he was this messiah that came out of the 4th round or whatever. And now you're looking at it and saying, who's going to get him now? Because who is going to sign him and then also move up because they don't have to trade for him or anything like that. They're going to cut him. So who's actually going to pay him? And me and Dan were talking about this the other day, saying I honestly said, screw it, I'll take him for $30 million a year.
Sure,
You want to accept $30 million a year? I'll give you 3 years, $90 million, same deal as Geno Smith. And I know he's not going to accept that, but at the same time, I'd say $30 million a year. You're still talented. If you get a GM that can put some pieces around you, get a nice line, because granted, he hasn't had a great line his entire career for the most part, but you have to think about it this way. If you get a good quarterback in there, and then you also pick up some linemen, then maybe the offensive coordinator, not the offensive coordinator, the head coach might actually do something with you. But they were at odds from the start. Him and Sean Payton and all that kind of stuff. So when I think about it, I'm glad it didn't happen, because we can't be that team that's like the Rams, who are trading all of our picks, not winning anything, but at least they won a Super Bowl. So it's like we're sitting here and being like, we dodged a bullet for that one. 100%.
Yes, that would have been a disaster. Number 3 is a fun one. That was the Carson Wentz start against the Browns in 2022. This is the game that most famously ended the team's playoff contention hopes. And Rivera, of course, had the press conference after the game where he did not even know that they could be eliminated from playoff contention tonight with a Packers win. So, yeah, this is definitely definitely a tough one to because I mean, we were doing this show. I mean, obviously I remember this well. Obviously it was the Heineke Wentz back and forth.
Yeah.
You and I were both just team like neither.
Yeah,
like
we're a team. Get Jake Fromm in there.
We certainly weren't Wentz guys, and then we definitely weren't Heineke guys either. But still, this is an example of I mean, you start Wentz, you lose the game, and you're eliminated from playoff contention, and your head coach doesn't even know it.
Right, and that's the problem, is that he's had many of these like audio gaffes where they're like, Grant Paulson's like, hey, you guys are eliminated this game, and he's like, wait, what? Like how do you know that? Like, I don't know if he was just.
To clarify, you said you would talk about quarterback next week. If you guys are eliminated today by what happens at 4:00, is Sam Howell in consideration?
We can be eliminated.
Yeah, if the Packers beat the Vikings, then you guys are eliminated.
That is just disgraceful for your head coach to not know that. It's just insane.
See, it always sounds like at the end there, it sounds like he's actually
like being sarcastic.
Being sarcastic, like, oh, okay, Grant, like you jackass, like. But at the same time, he's been a buffoon before and said some dumb things that you can't really tell.
No, you can't. Number 2 on the list here. Yeah, the Carson Wentz move. This is tough. I mean, obviously, we can look at it from today and look back at it and see what a disaster this was. I guess the overall point that some Commanders fans would like to make is you do have some signs that maybe this wasn't going to work. Like you have, Jim Irsay not liking Wentz at all, and you could take it or leave that sort of thing. You have the record obviously there as well. You have the quote. We went through the season with some inconsistency at quarterback that led to massive problems. That was Jim Irsay talking about it. It just. I guess some of it was also they said the overpay on this as well. On getting Wentz, where this was, if you're from the Colts side of things, this was a great move for them. If you're on the Commander side of things, this was pretty bad. I mean, 2 third-round picks, a second-round pick swap, and all of Wentz's salary, and what has to be one of the worst trades in franchise history. Yikes.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is I don't really fault them too much for this because they gave effort. Now,
Sure.
They did supposedly have that whole entire rumor of, we called every team to see if everyone was available and no one was off the table. But the difference is, again, like you said, Carson Wentz was kind of discarded. Now, people still say, he's a choke artist and this and that, this and that. Okay, I don't think Carson Wentz is a choke artist. I think that yes, they lost to the Jags or whoever it was a few years ago when they were winning in. But the problem is like it's a team sport. You know, he didn't lose the game by himself.
Yeah.
It comes down to, did certain people step up in that game, or does he just not have it anymore after he tore his ACL? And I think it's the latter, because honestly, and I've torn 2 ACLs. I'm not the same person, and you know, I'm still a little gun shy when it comes to certain things here and there. But when it comes down to it, a guy that was participating at an MVP level, and then all of a sudden comes out and tears his ACL and all that kind of stuff. Nick Foles leads him to the championship and all that kind of jazz. I just think that he just is not the same quarterback. And people were giving him chances because he did have those spurts.
Right.
And he did perform pretty decently well for Indianapolis. But the difference was that I think everyone was just so against him here, and where they were trying to find things wrong with him, and they were trying to, oh, this guy only eats chicken tenders, or this guy, you know, does this, or, you know, he reads the Bible every night. Like, stupid things that people try to find to knock the guy. At some point, it's going to affect you. And for a guy that was already broken a little bit, I think that kind of just shattered him. And that's the reason why he's barely has a job right now. I mean, I believe he's with the Rams or something like that as like a backup or something, like the third or fourth stringer or something of that nature. But you're looking at it and saying, is he that bad of a quarterback? I don't think so. But is he something that people thought he could be? Not anymore.
No, and I you did make a good point. And you look at it with this situation, and then with the Russell Wilson thing that we were just talking about. We don't fault teams for taking a swing. You know, you go after a big name. You know, you take a shot. If it works, amazing. If it doesn't work, you took your shot. The criticism comes in that, how well did you even evaluate the guy, the current state of the guy? Are you giving this guy an offer based on who he was, or are you giving him an offer on who he is right now? There's that aspect to it. And then there's also, how much are you handcuffing your franchise, and what are you giving up to take this swing? Because as we looked at the Russell Wilson deal, that would have been a disaster. If we're talking about multiple years of first-round picks for a team that probably wasn't going to be any better, maybe Russell Wilson, if Russell Wilson's the quarterback of this team the last couple of seasons, maybe they've got a couple more wins, probably not that much more, let's be honest. So, because the offensive line is still the offensive line. So I guess those are the points that we look at in this, and that, yes, was Wentz a swing that didn't work? Yes, and part of the criticism that is deserved is the evaluation and then what they gave up. Those are my 2 main gripes with it.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree with it. I mean, that's just how it is.
Number 1 on the list, failing to draft a QB in 2020 and drafting Chase Young. So this is the number 1 gripe with Rivera. And, of course, this famously is the Justin Herbert and Tua draft. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, this is tough. This is
Joe
tough
Burrow,
because this deservedly is, you know, a 1 or 2 biggest mistake in his career. You know, in that, you know, this is a draft where, just think about, you know, I just made the point, you know, with Russell Wilson, how many more wins and such. But if this team had a Tua or a Herbert or something like that, who would likely still be the quarterback to this day instead of this carousel that we have going right now in QB land.
Right.
Chase Young, who obviously had some great moments here at times, and then a lot of just non-moments because he was hurt and wasn't playing. This is a miss. This is a definite, tenure, defining miss for Rivera.
The biggest thing about that draft, and I still remember it to this day, that I had some qualms about, which was, I don't like drafting a defensive end that high, because of the sole fact that, yes, you have Joey Bosa, you have Nick Bosa, you got all these different guys, Jadeveon Clowney, you got all those type of guys that are out there that, you know, have succeeded at their position. But then you look at other players for bigger positions. Yes, pass rushers are a huge deal in today's NFL. But for people that were clamoring for Chase Young and this and that, there were other teams out there that could have taken him, that wanted to take him because that was one of their needs. And we could have easily traded. Now, again, having a top pick, for that to be, in your wheelhouse, you're lucky no matter what, because you're not in the NBA. You're not in the Major League Baseball realm where you have to have a lottery and all this kind of crap. Because this is, if you suck, you get a nice pick.
Right.
And then you should open your eyes to all avenues, which is, should I trade this pick, get another later pick or another second rounder or something like that? Because when you stack picks, you become most likely the Patriots. When you stack picks, you give yourself more options to go out there and take more swings. Because the Patriots, for years, yes, they had Tom Brady, and it's easy to win when you have an all-time great quarterback at the helm and a good coach. But what Bill Belichick did for so many years was, I'm trading down from 15 to 21, and I'm going to trade down from 21 to 26 because they knew that their guys were not the top order guys, because those are the picks they traded. They went for the second best tackle or the third best guard or whatever, and that's how they ended up getting good, because they kept drafting all these highly taught out depth guys, and their lines were always so good under Tom Brady for the most part. But then you're looking at the Chase Young draft, and I feel like they were saying, we're going to draft Chase Young automatically, no matter what. We're not looking to I'm sure we can find an article out there somewhere that said that, oh yeah, we got Chase Young. We got Chase. That's the guy we're taking. And that's the problem is, yes, we're not going to get Joe Burrow because obviously Cincinnati was like, we're already going to take him. Don't even bother. But when you're looking at the top 6 picks and you got 3 quarterbacks in the top 6, that's a huge deal, because you're looking at some of these other guys on this list right here. Andrew Thomas, I don't think he's that good if I recall, but I'm not exactly sure. I'm not going to attack the guy for that, but Isaiah Simmons, he's bounced around a little bit. Mekhi Becton, I remember covering him in high school. He's not that great. Henry Ruggs, I'm not going to talk about him. Tristan Wirfs, look at Tristan Wirfs. He's one of the best tackles in football. Jerry Jeudy has some talent, but apparently he's getting some stuff going on. But CeeDee Lamb, he's one of the top 3. Justin Jefferson. You're seeing some of these guys out there.
Ayuk.
Yeah, Patrick Queen. Look at the Ravens. Bottom of the first half again. They got a nice inside linebacker that's going to be one of the inside linebackers for years to come. So it's like you're looking at some of these guys that they could have easily got. Plus, you're also looking at how many picks they possibly could have accumulated for trading Chase Young, basically.
Yeah,
because that's the biggest thing is, who was going to draft Herbert, Tua, Chase Young at number 2? There were some options out there. I'm sure they had options, but they just said, we're drafting Chase Young, that's it. And they had no other sense to do anything else, because it's a simplistic organization. They don't think outside the box, and that's the problem I've had for years.
Here's a Rivera quote. This is about Sunday's game coming up here. Because it is expected likely to be Rivera's last. If there are changes after Sunday, do you feel like you've left the franchise in better hands than when you found it? Well, I'd like to say... I'm about to sneeze. Oh, my goodness. Well, I'd like to say we're in a better place. It's probably a fair way to say it. I most certainly do appreciate my time here, and we'll see what happens. And, again, we'll focus in on what's coming first on Sunday, and that's getting ready for Dallas. So, obviously, when guys are asked this question, it's not like he's going to say, oh, the franchise is effed. He's not going to say that, he screwed it up. But when you look at that and you think about it, is the franchise in a better place? Look, the reality of the situation is Ron Rivera came in a tough time. Obviously, he dealt with the dealing with the pandemic, dealing with Dan Snyder, dealing with the regime change there, new ownership, etc. He was supposed to be kind of the guy that kind of steered the ship through this just wild the rebrand. The whole all this sort of stuff. And I just can't look at it as this team is better off than where they were, with Ron Rivera. I mean, I just don't think I can say that confidently.
I'm telling you right now, the last middle finger that Ron Rivera is going to give this franchise
Oh, I think I know
is
what you're
beating
gonna
Dallas
say. Yeah.
and losing the second draft pick.
Yep.
Because as of right now, it's not completely ours, okay? Put it
Sure.
that way. It's not completely ours because it could change, but that is up to how the teams decide to play this coming weekend. But he's going to go out there. They're going to somehow score 47 points. Dallas is going to, flub again like
Right.
they did last year at the end of the season, and we're going to get the 5th pick, where in this draft, if we have the 2nd pick overall and we have tons of cap space, there's going to be a head coach out there that says, all right, I got some options. I
Yeah.
got some options out here. And then you're
Yeah.
going to have a GM that's going to say, I have a little more options because I have a lot more leeway here. And also, you're going to have an OC that comes in, or whoever comes in is going to have an enticing decision because right now, Ron Rivera has gifted this team because he's so bad, the 2nd overall pick. And you have all these other teams, these idiots, Patriots and the Cardinals, who are just winning against upset. It's like, what are you doing? And it's just funny because I just know that's possibly in the cards because every week, the last 2 weeks, we've moved up one position, moved up another position because we're terrible. And all of a sudden, he's going to go out there, he's going to say, win one for the Gippa, guys. And then all of a sudden, they're going to go out there and say, yeah, let's win the last one for Ron. And then all of a sudden, yeah, Craig. And then all of a sudden, they're going to go out there and post up 45 points. They're going to be like, what in the world is this team? Then everyone's going to be talking how Dallas sucks for some reason. And then Ron Rivera is going to walk out the building, say, thank you all, go Commanders, and flip us the bird.
Oh yeah. No, it would be an appropriate ending to his tenure is screwing the team out of the number 2 pick because
Indeed.
Yeah, I think there's some big changes to come, which is why, it's an exciting time to be, a show that talks about this team and that there's this team is going to be completely different moving forward. I mean, just at least from a management standpoint, both the GM side and the coach side, and there's a lot of decisions to be had. And I for one am just glad to see Rivera is not going to be in charge anymore because
What's the funny thing though is that what we're talking about though is that just like you mentioned, there's going to be a lot of differences coming in this organization from a managerial perspective, GM, head coach, yada yada yada, whoever the staff is still, if any staff stay. But you also look again that this is one of the most enticing jobs out there now because of the increasing draft stock, plus the sole fact that you got quarterbacks out there that people want, Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Jaden Williams. So you're looking at it and saying, okay, 3 quarterbacks out there we can possibly get, possibly. We can also trade down and acquire more picks, especially with a 2nd overall pick where there's 3 quarterbacks that are coveted right now.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, we're in the top 4 or so in cap space. So you're going to go out there, probably sign 2 offensive linemen. Then you might get a quarterback in the draft, depending if they want to keep Sam Howell or whatever they decide to do. And also, you got tons of other space that you can fill on the defensive end in the secondary. So it's like you're looking at it and saying, this team has so much upside in 1 year that someone might come in here and just go Richie Rich on their ass and go like that.
You'd hope.
And
You'd
just
hope.
start showering cash at all these people. But the problem is, just like we talked about earlier, are they going to go get a William Jackson that doesn't fit the defensive coordinator scheme? Are they going to go get one of these guys in the draft that doesn't fit the scheme of the coordinators? And I said this when you were out a couple weeks ago. We need a head coach that has a level head on their shoulders, that has an offensive coordinator, a defensive coordinator. He umbrellas both of them, manages both of them, but also is in the operating rooms here figuring out who fits each other's schemes. Because, again, when you have a defensive coach like Ron Rivera, who was the head coach and the director of player personnel, and goes out there and is like, man, this guy is number 1 on the free agency list. Let's go get him. Let's throw the bag at him when he's probably not worth the bag, and we'll just pluck and play him here. That's the problem that we used to have. And
Right.
now that this team has so much upside for this year, I'm excited as hell for someone to come in here on all these different positions, head coach, GM, mascot, whoever they wants to come in here and just improve this team because
Tuddy.
this is
we're
Major
not
Tuddy.
replacing Tuddy.
We'll see.
Yeah, who's going to be the head coach next year? Jim Harbaugh. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Hey, you never know. Jim Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin. I mean, there's a lot of names out there, man. I can't.
Ben
I can't-
Johnson. He's
Yeah.
he's
Well,
pretty
apparently
fun.
that's we'll see how much money he wants. But overall,
Yeah,
dude,
yeah.
this is one of the most exciting off seasons that we're gonna have in the last 15 years.
And the worry is just it's like don't F it up. I mean that's like been our concern. It's like this is as you said, this is one of the biggest opportunities to change the direction of the franchise entirely. And I use them all the time as an example, but you look at the Detroit Lions when Brad Holmes came in as GM and Dan Campbell came in as head coach, and you look at like the direction they were able to turn the franchise in, and it takes time. It's going to take a few seasons, but and I don't think the Commanders I don't think are in the same. Well, I guess they are kind of roughly in a similar spot to where the Lions were, I guess. But I just think that if you bring in the right people who are smart, who are able to surround themselves with a ton of talent, a ton of other smart people, this franchise could be really exciting here in a couple seasons. So we'll see how it plays out. Let's do some trivia here.
Oh,
Yeah,
should we do some trivia here?
let's do some trivia here.
All right, let's do some trivia here. How about that?
It's the Daily Dozen, as Mike and I. This is our first one of the new year, so we need to succeed. Oh,
Yes.
by the way, you did. You watched the Gran Turismo movie?
I did.
Did you like it?
I gave it a.
Oh no,
I think
you
an
didn't like it.
8.1.
Oh yeah, then you did like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's not like it's no like Godfather, but it's a good movie.
You know the one thing I will give it credit because I hate movies and shows that have a dad that's just an ass.
Yeah.
Because dads in a lot of these things, they're like, son, like then they get up and they shove the table from the dinner table, they
Right,
shove it, and then all of a sudden the mashed potatoes falls on the floor or something like that, and the wife's like Harold, or or
Yeah.
something
The
like
wife's
that.
always like don't worry, he'll come around.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
that's always the
But the
line.
dad's always so rude, and
Right.
then all of a sudden at the end he's like, I guess you did okay, son.
Right,
stuff
right.
like that. But this dad, I forgot his name.
Digimon Hansu is the actor.
That's his name.
Yeah, Digimon Hansu.
Yeah, Digivolve. You remember Digimon?
I do. I remember.
Hey man, that used to get me going when Digimon was like Digivolve 2, and then all of a
Yeah,
sudden
but
like it would be the
Digimon
same
was
animal,
no-
but just
There's no Pokemon.
it wasn't, but it wasn't on at the same time, so I get to watch both.
Yeah, sure.
I couldn't name you a single Digimon though.
Yeah.
I could name a lot of Pokemon.
Oh
Gen
yeah, I
1s.
couldn't. Yeah. We were too old for Beyblades, those spinning tops fighting each other. My brother had
Beyblades.
those. Yeah.
Beyblades. That's,
Yeah.
that's like
It
so
was
dumb.
lame, but yeah, it was a good movie. I liked it. Like you said, like my worry the whole time watching it was like, oh god, is this gonna be lame and cheesy? And
Yeah.
like it waded into those waters sometimes, but for the most part, it was like no, they did a pretty good job with this. I love, even the fact that they included the actual crash. I mean, that's like what happened in real life, where he freaking like you can watch the video online where the car is freaking going like this, and like somebody dies and stuff. And it was kind of cool for them to actually put that in the movie. When you
Right.
think like sometimes Hollywood's like, yeah, we're gonna leave that out, but like no,
Well,
the
that-
racing
that's-
was pretty cool too.
That's the thing too, is that so again the dad thing was I gave props for because he wasn't too hard on the kid, but he tried to understand a little bit during the thing. He was like what are you doing there, son? Like, he was watching him racing. He's like, I'm changing the brakes, you
Right.
know? Like changing the calipers here. And the guy's
Yeah.
like, oh well, okay. And it's like, but he wasn't like sitting there like about to beat him with a lacrosse stick. or
Right.
something like that.
Right. He wasn't locking him. He didn't like throw his computer like video game system like out the window. You know?
Yeah. So that was one thing, but I will say that the racing part, now that was cool to watch, and I think they did a good story about that. But I think one knock that I have on it was too long of a movie to not elaborate on more parts.
Yeah.
Like they built it up so much for like 45 minutes to the point where they're like, all right, this buildup could have been, half an hour. You wasted 15 minutes of the movie by, having this guy feud with this guy, but then all of a sudden they're friends at the end of the movie.
Yeah, they're both racing at Le Mans. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, anyways.
It was cool, though. I mean, as somebody who doesn't really know anything about racing, like, I was like, oh, this is actually kind of, I was like, oh, maybe I'll actually, like, I'm not going to watch these races, but it would be like, I'd buy a video game about them. I'd go play Gran Turismo.
I told my buddy to watch it because I was like, you remember those days on the PlayStation 2 we sat there and played GT? He was like, yeah, I remember that. And I said, well, they made a movie about it. He's like, oh, really? And I was like, yeah, Patrick Starr over here living under a rock.
Yeah,
he didn't
idiot.
know. Yeah, idiot.
I mean,
all right.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and it's cool kind of like, again, the fact that, like, a guy who got really good at a video game got to be suddenly like a professional racer. Like, what the hell? Like, that's
I mean,
insane. Your MLB show, experience you should be the manager of the Chicago Cubs or something right now.
I mean, I could be the manager. I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could be a good player on the show.
Oh yeah, that's true. It's a little different.
I'm not that great at the show. I'll put it that way. That's definitely not one of my top 3 games.
What's
right.
Where do you want to start here on the board?
Let's just start from the top left.
Okay.
We'll go from our whatever. Last night didn't go so well for me. I was doing it. I was like, oh, this is not good. All right. So the Daily Dozen, game 163 on the 2nd of the 2024 year. I had to take forever to get that out.
Yeah, I didn't know what the hell.
Yeah, I don't know. Ted Marchibroda is one of only 3 men to have coached what AFC team since 1996.
Okay, so it means somebody's been there a long time, or like it's only had a couple changes in like
I bet you I know who it is.
Who, the Ravens?
No, because Bill Billick, Brian Billick.
Brian Billick.
I think
one of 3 men to have coached so Billick and Harbaugh and Ted Marchibroda.
Ooh, that might actually be right. I was thinking of the Patriots.
Yeah, how long has Belichick been there?
Oh, wait, since 1996.
So that means they've only had 3 coaches since 96, 3 head coaches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, we'll go with the Ravens.
Yeah, that's my initial take. Okay.
All right, good call. Good call. Okay. We had similar thoughts.
Pulled that out of my ass.
On January 2nd, 2007, this at the time Big East school, led by star Brian Brom, capped off a 12-1 season with a 24-13 Orange Bowl win over Wake Forest.
So, from watching the show, when they say at the time, that means that the school could still be part of this conference, or they could have moved, but at least at this exact time, they definitely were part of it. That's when they say at the time. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they've gone to a different conference.
So, for the Orange Bowl, 2007, it's ACC versus who? I think it's Big Ten. Is it?
Well, it says this at the time, Big East school kept up 12 months. Orange Bowl win over Wake Forest. So yeah, so they play. So Wake Forest they play 12-1. So 2007. So think about Oh wait, no, Brian Brom. I was gonna say what guys were coming out of the draft the next year, but I've never even heard of Brian Brom.
I've heard of him. I'm trying to think about it though. At the time, Big East school. So it has to be a Big East school. So think about Big East school. So obviously you had, UConn, which is terrible. Syracuse, Louisville.
Right.
I'm trying to think of the better ones. Pitt maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I have zero idea.
All right, we'll come back to it.
Yeah.
MLB. After coming over from Cuba, this 2-time All-Star outfielder played for the Athletics, Red Sox, Tigers, and Mets from 2012 to 2018.
Yoenis
and won
Cespedes.
the Home Run Derby in 13 and 14.
Yeah. It's weird he was on the Tigers. He was barely there. But
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. Living from 1885 to 1962, this Danish physicist was a Nobel Prize winner for his foundational contributions to understanding atomic structure and assisted in the Manhattan Project.
This is Niels Bohr. N-I-E.
Oh, N-I-E-L. Niels, how did you know that?
Yeah. Well, I did watch Oppenheimer.
Oh, look at this guy. Okay. So
Okay.
that is
Yeah.
Blake Lively.
Yep. definitely. And then
Of course I'm
the
gonna get
outside is Macaulay's brother, so Kieran Culkin from Succession.
Yeah, that was too easy. Dave's
Oh, speaking of
single is-
easy.
Okay, Wendy's. I don't even
What
know
are
how to
we
read
talking
it.
about
Dave's
here?
single.
Don't even try us. I mean, like, what are you guys thinking? Putting us... Yeah, come on. It's obviously Wendy's.
Yeah, it's idiots. In 2020, Quibi rebooted this
Your
Comedy
favorite.
Central series that debuted. Why am I speaking to it like a robot? That debuted.
You sound like
in-
one of the voices on TikTok that, like, reads the text.
Yeah, right. Starring Thomas.
This is
Lennon
Reno 911.
and- I like Reno 911.
Yeah, the clips are great. It's
yeah.
a great show.
New boot.
God, my
Goofy.
voice is already shot. Okay.
Anna Sophia Robb portrayed Shark Attack survivor Bethany Hamilton in this 2011 biographical drama, also starring Dennis Quaid and Carrie Underwood. Would that be Blue?
No. No, but I know what you're thinking of. That's not this cast, though. I believe this is Soul Surfer
Ooh, that's actually a good title.
or something like that. Yeah, Soul Surfer.
God, man, you're on point.
Jesus
Your voice sucks, but you're on point.
Yeah.
Oh God, I can't.
I'm dead.
Janelle Monáe was the featured artist on the 2011 number one hit
yeah.
song "We Are Young" from what band?
It's a banger. Tonight, we are young. It's fun.
Set the roof on fire.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. This is fun.
Oh, I thought you were just telling
It
me
is
this
fun,
Is
but this
is
is-
it FUN period?
Yeah. That's fucking whatever. It's already swearing. Nobody's
Okay.
listening at hour 6 mark.
No one can understand you anyway.
Dude, I mean, I have no idea. So you named some of the schools earlier. You said Pitt. You said Louisville.
Well, who else is in the Big East though? Who was in the Big East when UConn was winning championships for basketball? Like that was like
This is a football question.
I think I'm gonna say Pitt.
Put Louisville. All right,
I'm
you
gonna
do a guess, and then I'll do a guess.
All right.
So do you want to? Yeah, try Louisville, and if it's wrong, go Pitt.
Yes.
Boom, 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 boom. Tonight.
All right. Tonight.
There we go.
Oh, he's ending. Let's check it out. Let's check out the stats.
9 for 9.
Oh, I need to say show stats.
Show the stats.
All right. Wow.
Wow.
450. No one knew that history one. God, you're a genius. Chain restaurants, of course. This is a dumb question. Look at that. Look at all these. NFL, man. Wow. How did they not get that one? I thought it was an easy one. So
Yeah,
let's
because
do
you think. I mean, you just think about you just go through the teams and you think Ravens. It's like, yeah, you've only really freaking heard of like a couple coaches in the last 30 years or whatever.
4?
So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you think of the Ravens, the Steelers, and the
Right.
the-
Steelers would have been another one that I would have probably.
But that was Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and Mike Tomlin. So I could have
Right.
named those ones.
Right.
I'm also wearing the 412 hat. If you don't notice.
There we go. I noticed.
let's
It's
see.
backwards on the
Is it?
camera for me.
So we are in the 98th percentile for
mean,
perfect.
Why are we not on Jeopardy or something?
98th percentile.
They should
Well,
be paying us.
we should.
That's
we
your
should-
guy,
we should-
Niels Bohr.
We should contact Portnoy.
What's he gonna do?
It's a bar stool.
I know, but that's Jeff D. Lowe that runs Dozen Trivia. So we should contact Jeff D. Lowe and be like, your boys need to be on this season of Dozen Trivia. I mean, we're acing it. Yeah, Niels Bohr, and then your boy Nikola Tesla. That was another guy involved.
Okay. I didn't watch
and
the movie yet. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's also just general knowledge.
Oh yeah, is it?
It's an
Manhattan
important time
Project.
in our nation's history. But yeah, I'm more into Manhattan Pizza than the Manhattan Project. That's for
Oh
sure.
yeah, me too. Hey,
God.
did you get my text though about the pizza that I texted you about last week or 2 weeks ago? The underrated one?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, you got to get that, man.
I remember the text.
It was
What was
about
the name of the place again?
pizza with a twist.
Okay, yeah, okay. I've had it once. And let me see what my rating was, because I had it once.
Oh, you did?
Oh, but it was a while ago. So I would definitely get it again because it's
I
like,
swear by it. because their thin crust is how I like it, which is not like
Ooh,
Domino's.
Pizza Twist. Oof. I gave it a 6.6 back.
Dang, well, I don't know what you got. That's the problem.
That's the problem. And Abby gave it a 7. So
What-
yeah, I mean, this was probably a couple
Do you remember
years
if you got what kind of crust? Regular crust, probably.
It was probably a regular crust.
Tell me, dude, the thin crust
So thin
is
crust. Okay.
is not like Domino's where it's like eating cardboard.
And that's the
you know.
place, Pizza with Twist. That's the place where it's like Middle Eastern pizzas.
Yeah.
They've got like you can get like a chicken tikka masala pizza.
Yeah,
Stuff like
yeah.
that.
And but I just get this. I get the simpleton ones.
Yeah,
I get,
well, yeah,
I,
well, yeah.
I get the thin crust. I get. I don't know if I get extra sauce. I like extra sauce though, no matter what. But you get the thin crust. You get the pepperoni. I get some spinach in there to throw a little green. Okay, and which you can leave out if you want. I get
Yeah.
the tikka masala, tikka
masala,
masala chicken.
Ooh. I
Which
mean, that
is not-
sounds delicious.
It
That
doesn't have all the
sounds-
sauce on there. It's just the chicken that
Yeah.
they would put in the sauce.
Right. No, that sounds money. I would definitely give them another shot. I'll do it. I do it sometimes with my ratings. Is like I'll give it another try and like give an updated rating if it deserves it. So
You know
yeah,
what we should
I'll
do? That we should have that for our kickoff episode.
some good za and pizza rating. That
Yeah.
sounds good to me.
You should get that one, and then you should tell me a place to get.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, I've got my list. Yeah, I'd be down for that. I'm trying to. This is second day of the year, and so through 2 days, I've done a pretty good job food wise of not eating anything too crazy. Yesterday had kava. Today had kava for lunch. So
All
I mean,
right.
as
There
long
he
as I
is.
can just eat kava every day, I think I'll be in good shape. But
There he is.
That's going to get a little expensive. But it's all probably going to go downhill this weekend. That's where I usually. It's like, I mean, dude. Sometimes you're just sitting there and you're just like, I'd love to just order some Wingstop right now, and then
Yeah.
you order 10 wings and side of fries and maybe a brownie and throw it. You know, and that's like 1,000,000 calories. So.
That's the problem, man. Is the weekends where you're sitting there and you're like, all right, I'm watching this.
Got a little buzz on,
Yeah, you got a lot of buzz on.
Little buzz.
Stay away from
a
those
little
White
Buzz
Claws.
Lightyear on.
I'm gonna make a shirt that says that.
Yeah.
Like, get your Lightyear on.
Yeah, there you go. We just
or
coined
some-
that.
Yeah, and the funny thing is well, that shirt just now it's in my mind.
Yeah.
The problem is you got to stay away from those White Claw surges, man. The White Claw surges.
I've never done that.
They're 8%.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
dangerous.
And the problem is I've had them twice now.
Yeah.
And both times I have them, the next day, not so great, because the problem is because they're 8%. It's like basically drinking 2 in 1. So it's like I'm sitting there and I'm playing, Xbox, something like that, or watching a movie or something like that. I'm just chilling, and I'm drinking them like regular White Claws or regular
Yeah.
seltzers.
But
And
you're
I'm
really
sitting
like
there-
doubling up.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there. I'm just like drinking them, and you always have to have them after you've had a couple because they don't taste that great. They always have
Yeah.
a weird aftertaste.
Oh yeah, I
But-
know what you mean. Yeah.
But after you have your buzz on,
That's
your
me
light-
and
your
those.
Lightyear-
That's me and those truly like holiday like party pack. Like I told you that I
Yeah.
got. Like those don't taste that good, but they taste pretty good after you had a couple glasses of little bourbon,
Well, it's funny.
little Bobby bourbon.
is I'm actually favoring now. Excuse me. Truly Lemonade is obviously the cream of the crop.
Elite.
The hard sodas from Bud Light.
Okay, I haven't given them a shot.
I still like those. Like
Okay.
they came out like last year. Like it's the ones that's like, oh, it's flavored like orange or it's flavored like Coke.
I
or
gotta
it's flavored
try
like
'em.
cherry Coke or something like that. I kind of like them. You know,
I mean, there's nothing wrong with. Hey, if you like them, I'll give them a try.
They're 5%. I think they have 0 sugar in them too.
That's good news because I need
Yep.
0 sugar
Yep.
in my life.
0 watermelon sugar.
So last thing before we go, so I've been going to the chiropractor as we talked about on the show. And
Oh
so
man, I haven't heard this in a while.
when they do so they've been doing the cupping.
oh,
So I'll,
you doing that?
yeah. So I'll go into a room and they'll stick needles in my neck and then they'll
Ew.
put some cups on my back.
that ain't a chiropractor, man.
and-
It's like a Manhattan Project.
But the problem is so the women that work work at the front desk that like
Don't
do-
whisper. This is going on the top.
they're pretty attractive, and the problem is when you go in for the cupping, that's when, like, for everything else, you don't obviously take your shirt off. But when you're doing the cupping in the room, you have to take your shirt off. And they're the ones that, like, put the cups on your back and stuff. So I'm like, every time I'm like, this is a disaster. It's like I was waiting in the room today, and then the girl walks in, and she's like, all right, take your shirt off. And it's like, nobody wants that.
What's her name?
I have no idea, but like nobody wants to see what's underneath here.
Yeah.
And so, I just, you take your shirt off, and then you just know, like, when they're doing the cups on the back, they're just looking at just a pile of fat that's sitting there. And they're just like, they're like, yeah, the cup is having a hard time getting
Suction's not
connecting.
working.
Yeah, suctioning on there. I'd like to suction some of this fat out of my stomach. And it's just a disaster.
You know what's funny is that the last time I went to the chiropractor last week, they were like, "Well, we got to schedule you for your
Sorry, go ahead.
They said we got to excuse me. They said we got to schedule you for your re-eval. First thing, I'm like, well, damn, my 20 appointments are already up. That kind of sucks.
I'm almost at that mark right now.
Yeah, well, I only go at once every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I extended it because I don't need to go every week or every
They
twice
want
a
you
day,
to come.
whatever it is. So I'm hoping it's only $20. I'm like, whatever, they crack a couple times, whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
So they said that, and I'm like, all right, that's fine. So when they said that, I went to the back, and the problem was it was the rainy day last week.
Yeah.
Where it was rainy and it was muggy, and you know how when rain comes, like, yeah, it's cool outside, but like buildings just like filled with must.
Yeah.
Right. And then all of a sudden I get in there, I'm like, man, it's kind of hot in here,
Ooh.
and I'm wearing, a pullover or something like that.
Yeah.
Like nothing big. And then all of a sudden, what they do at mine, which is I think a regular chiropractor rather than yours,
Sure.
is they give you a massage. So they do a massage for like 10 minutes.
No, they just stick needles in my neck.
Yeah. They're killing you. No wonder you're sick.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, so they gave me a massage, and they adjust you, and then you're out.
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, they either do massage before or after, and this was before. So the girl, and she for some reason remembered me. I don't know why.
Yeah.
So I've only seen her once. So I'm getting. She says, "Hey, where are we focusing on today?" And I was like, "I don't know." Like I said, my neck and my upper back or something.
Right.
Whatever.
Right.
And she was
That's
like,
the go-to.
And when she said that, like, where are we focusing on today?
In between my cheeks. So you should have said.
not the cupping. So so I said my neck, and she was like the lower back, because like we did last time. And I was like, last time? I was like, I wasn't here for like 14 days. I was like, it was kind of weird that she remembered that. So I said, like me and you always do, we panic. So I was like, yeah, I didn't need a lower back. So starts doing it right. And in these chairs, I hate these chiropractor chairs because they're so skinny.
Oh, you're in a chair?
No, like one of the bench bed things.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And it's not like a masseuse, like where you have the circle one where it actually fits around your head. Like this one is like a square, so I'm like this.
Oh, I hate those things too. That's how our things are. Where
Right?
it's like it leaves like a little gap for like your
Yeah.
nose.
Yeah, and I'm like
Yeah.
like breathing, and all of a sudden I'm like, man, it's hot in here,
Oh
man.
no.
So all of a sudden I get up, and the paper that's like covering the thing, my face, because I was breathing on my face. There's no like ventilation down there.
Yeah.
I'm breathing, and all of a sudden I get up, and it's just like wet.
Oh.
And I was like, thank you.
No, you hustled out of there.
Oh my god, dude! But the problem, no, it was before I even got
It was
adjusted.
the before, so they're like,
Oh,
oh
my
god,
God.
this sweat monster. We gotta rub this guy down. This guy just got out of the pool.
I was like, because they have the ventilation in the ceiling.
Yeah.
That it's like a spindle, and it goes around while the AC's pumping. So and it has like vents like different directions.
Yeah.
So it just spreads the air around. They didn't have those on. And like I said,
Oh.
the must was building up, and I was getting massaged for like 12, 13 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm breathing like hot air on myself like this, because all you can see is this. And I'm like, I get up, and I was mortified. It was one of the most embarrassing things I've had in the last year.
Sweat. Anytime
Oh.
you like, and then you just think about it more. Like
Yeah.
you're like, oh my god, I'm like probably making this thing so sweaty, and that makes you sweat even more.
Yeah.
I hate any sort of, and being big guys, it's like we're sweating just all the time.
And Dr. Kang, was helping this other lady, and she wouldn't stop talking.
Oh, I
so
hate
I'm
that.
sitting there just embarrassed for like 10 minutes while
Just
this
a
idiot
in a
lady.
pile of your
it
own
was-
puddle of your sweat, and
Okay, well, it wasn't all over the table. It was just in that head spot.
they had to call
Okay.
in somebody to vacuum the floor after to vacuum the
Yeah, yeah.
moisture.
Yeah, so, yeah, they need to get that air. I was like, you get that air running here.
Yeah.
But then the lady wouldn't stop talking. So Dr. Kang is over here, and he won't. He because we talk about golf or whatever.
Yeah.
And like she wouldn't stop talking about her back or doing lunges or something. And she's doing like yoga, and then she threw out her back. I'm like, all right, lady. Like, first of all, you cut in front of me. Second of all, now you're talking to Dr. Kang, and he can't help me out, so I can get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
And wallow in the rain, like in the Notebook or something like that.
Meanwhile, they have
because-
your literally like, facial impression is on
Yeah.
the bench from earlier.
Yeah.
They're like, we're
Oh
gonna
my
have to get
dude.
new leather. I don't know
Dude,
what to say.
I'm not gonna lie. He was talking so much. I was sitting there like looking around, like trying to figure out how to roll the thing so I could get it past it and like cut it
Oh.
off myself. But I
Oh,
couldn't
no.
do it.
I'm glad you didn't try because like next thing you know, you're like break
That
it
would've been-
all or something
yeah.
like that. They're like,
Oh.
oh God, why did you do that? And then it's like, oh,
What a
God.
nightmare. That was
Yeah.
one of the most embarrassing things I've had in the last 365 days. Happy New Year.
Chiropractors, man, they just they screw it all up.
Go get
They
that
screw
cupping
it.
done.
Yeah, my back, it literally looks like a checkers board right now.
I don't know where you're going, man.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, because then like, I mean, she still does the cracks and stuff, but like, yeah. Anyways, yeah. Happy New Year, everybody. We will be back, and as we said, some big stuff coming down the road. The biggest thing is I mean, again, 2024 resolution. The silky sweet voice of John Z needs to be.
Hey,
on
what if we
these
get John
airwaves.
Z on for the kickoff episode?
That would be something.
That wouldn't be a bad title for it. Kicking off
Kicking
after
off.
the season's already done.
With John Z.
Yeah.
You know, I'd like to hear about his chiropractor experiences.
Hey,
I'm sure there's a lot of cupping happening, but not where you would think. All right, we'll see you later. This has been another episode of the DC Crossover. Goodbye.